This is my presentation on the digestive system process. Okay, the process of digestion begins at the mouth. The mouth is also known as the buccal cavity. When you smell food, the mouth begins to produce saliva. Saliva contains amylase that help break down the carbohydrates in the food. This is generally the starch in the food. The carbs are broken down into glucose, so the combination of the mouth and teeth chewing the food and the saliva dissolving and softening the food leads to the breakup of the food. This is one of the main areas of digestion and a key part in the breakdown of the food. The food then moves on to the pharynx. This is done by the action of swallowing when the food is broken up enough to be swallowed. Then from here the food goes down to the esophagus. The esophagus is a long muscular tube that leads down into the stomach. It is basically a pathway from the mouth to the stomach. So the muscles in the esophagus contracts and squeezes the food down into the stomach. Next is the stomach, which is also known as the acid bath. The stomach is a hollow structure that can hold the food in the bath of the acids that help digest it more. The stomach produces acids and protease that help with the digestion of foods in the stomach. This protease helps break down the proteins in the food, and this then creates amino acids. The digested food will then be converted into slush, also known as chyme. Before the next stage, the chyme is of where the chyme actually travels. The liver plays a very important role in production of chemicals. It's known as the chemical factory. It has multiple important functions in the process. One function is the processing the blood contained nutrients. This is important in transmitting nutrients-filled blood around the body. Its most important role is producing bile and lipase. These chemicals are important in breaking down fats in the food. This happens in the small intestine. Excess bile is stored in the gallbladder, which is attached to the liver. Another important thing is the pancreas. This is another part that doesn't affect the process, but does produce and add chemicals to help digestion and breakdown. The pancreas is known as the enzyme factory. The pancreas then releases these enzymes into the small intestine. The pancreas also includes the endocrine and exocrine gland. This is really important in the digestive system. Moving on to the kidneys. The kidneys don't actually affect the system, but play a vital role in regulation of the system. The kidneys work 24/7 to regulate. The kidneys work to filter the blood and water in the process. This helps make everything run smoother and not get clogged and cause problems, so it just helps everything flow where it should do. The next part of the process is a key part. The small intestine is where most of the digestion occurs, and a key part in it happening as well. It is responsible for splitting most of the waste and nutrients up. It does this with multiple enzymes, bile, and its own acids within. The small intestine passes on the waste and allows the absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream. From here, it travels around the body to the needed places for use. It's like a blender in how it works. It mixes up everything into small pieces and allows it to be absorbed and split up. There are multiple parts to the small intestine, but the main part is where most digestion occurs, is in the area known as the duodenum. This part is near the beginning of the small intestine. Moving on to the next part where the waste is passed on to is the large intestine. What connects the two intestines is known as the cecum. Within here, the large intestine separates the water and small remaining amounts of nutrients from the waste products. It's like a draining system. Like the small intestine, the large is known for its absorption as its key ability. The final part of the process happens at the rectum and anus. The large intestine passes on the waste products into the rectum. This is where it is stored until released. It then sends a message up to the brain saying it's ready to be released, and then your brain will relay the message back down to your anus to release the waste product. This is what's known as a bowel movement. So these parts, both the rectum and anus, are very well known for their ability of excretion, and that's their main role. Thank you for watching.